This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an incredibly special episode of Coffee with Kenobi. I am, of course, your host, Dan Z, here with Beci Mahnken from MEI and Mouse Fan Travel.
Hi, it's great to be back again. It's been a while since we were in Batuu.
Yes, now we're on Batuu, both coasts together, hanging out, experiencing the incredible things that Galaxy's Edge has to experience. But now, Beci, Rise of the Resistance has opened. We've both been on the attraction. I've not talked about it on the show yet, but I'm going to let you go first. Tell me what you thought about this mind-blowing attraction.
You're just doing this to me because you're still trying to wrap your brain around what you just saw.
No, I'm ready.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I've tried to explain this several ways, and I'm going to try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, because the first thing I would tell people, don't watch the videos. Don't watch the online stuff. The pictures, okay, it's not going to really give away the experience if you look at that, but this is definitely an attraction that you have to see and experience with your own body and your own eyes and your own jaw, which will be on the floor as you're going through the attraction. For me, Disney, well, you know how when something new comes along, they say, this is the best thing ever, and it's got the PR hype behind it. I think this is one of the attractions that actually really lived up to the hype. And it has those moments that, for me anyway, just suck the air right out of the room when certain things occur to you that you're not expecting. And I think that this is now the bar.
It is the bar. I can absolutely confirm what you said. There were certain moments that I knew were going to happen just because you're so closely involved and follow it, and you work with Disney PR, and you just consume all the information because you're so excited about it. So I didn't know when things were going to happen, but I knew certain things were going to happen, and my breath was completely taken from this attraction when I was on it. Went on it a couple times. But had I not even known about some of the key surprises, oh my gosh, because when I got off the thing the first time, I had so much adrenaline going that my palms were sweating, and my face was just plastered with this smile. It is really an experience unlike anything I've ever done. I can legitimately say I felt like I was not on a set, but in a Star Wars movie.
That is an understatement, actually, because I think this is the very first attraction, besides maybe one in Shanghai that I can think of, that plops you, that you're not looking at the story, you are experiencing the story. You're part of the story. What's happening around you is happening to you. And it really does make you believe you are where they are placing you. Again, I'm very careful with my verbiage because I don't want to give it away, but my eyes were wide, my jaw was open, my head was swiveling around because you see what's in front of you the first time you ride. And then I rode 6 times. I was blessed to be able to be here during the press event to have easier access to it. So the first time I rode, I saw one story. The second time was a completely different story because I was looking for other things. I think every time that I experienced it, I found different elements of the attraction or of the story they were trying to tell.
You know, I can see that because I just went on a couple times and I felt like I wish I was an owl. Because you need to have your head on a swivel to look at all the things that are going on, and that you can. I mean, I don't want to give away anything either, but I will say I understand now why the ride is a tricky, innovative thing.
Yes.
Because there's so many working parts. There's a particular thing at the end I'm not going to spoil, but I was watching it and going through it, and I thought the timing on this thing and the size and the scope of what they're doing is incredible and daunting. And I'm not a designer, but I can even imagine what it must go into to see that. And I saw Lou was talking about this earlier. People were asking, if you're not a Star Wars fan, is this going to be confusing? I think it's extremely clear through John Williams' music, the lighting as you go into different rooms, the energy of the cast members, that this is very clear. And that's what I like about Star Wars. It's very clear who's good, who's bad. That's what George originally designed when he was coming out of the post-Vietnam era. He wanted very clear distinctions of good and evil. You get that on Rise of the Resistance.
In a heartbeat. And I think part of this story, much like the land when you're talking to the Batuian. I'm going to call them Batuians just because I can. Yeah. When you're in this attraction and you're interacting with the cast, which you are forced to, that is just as much of the attraction as the attraction is, because they're having none of it. This is, you know that you're in a bad position and you have to get out of there somehow because it is not a good place to be. And that's coming through from the attitude that you're receiving from the cast members that is actually... I don't think my mother ever scared me as much as some of them did, which just begs to the story that's being told.
You and I were talking earlier about the cast members at Disney World are, universally known for their warmth, for their charm, for their gregarious nature, except on the Haunted Mansion.
Right.
But now we have a new attraction to add that to, and it's the First Order officers that are on this thing are scary. Like, I find myself, and I'm a grown man, and I understand what goes into this. I find myself not making eye contact.
I was terrified of a couple of them, and someone that we were with actually asked to be in a certain position, and she was having none of it. And it was almost uncomfortable in a way, but they were right true to form of what you would expect if you were in that position with those First Order officers.
I also I saw someone asking a First Order officer to take the picture, and he said, "We don't do pictures." And the lady was like, oh. And I think that's funny. I know that that's kind of the thing at Galaxy's Edge anyway, because I know people were online were upset that Stormtroopers weren't stopping to take pictures, but they want you to be a part of the show. I would imagine from a businessing model, it's probably kind of a slippery slope. So we'll kind of see what that looks like in a year or two. But right now, I mean, I get it.
Yeah, you have to, because they're trying to create the word is overused, but an immersive location. When you walk through the gates into Galaxy's Edge, you are on this planet. You're not going to find the citizens here / cast members talk about their glorious day to go see the fireworks later on tonight. That is not going to happen here. So you would not walk up to a stormtrooper if you were in the movie to ask them to take a picture with you. It's not going to happen. Right. So it's trying to keep as true to the story as they possibly can, and I totally get it. And for the officers, what I loved, there's a point in time where you have a good amount of time to watch them interact with people. And I was watching how they were standing and how they were holding their arms and how they were cupping their hands behind their back and walking, much like they do if you're watching First Order in the movies. And I was really impressed that nobody cut character and everybody was standing and or walking in that formation. It was very impressive.
The last time I was on, there was a little girl wearing reindeer antlers, Mickey reindeer antlers, and the First Order officer looked at her and said, "I can see you're set up for long-range communication." And they were like, the little girl just stared, and then as soon as he walked away, she busted up laughing. It was that's the kind of quality moments that Disney does, though.
Yes, that puts you in the story. You're not queuing up. You're not, moving from room to room. You are going from experience to experience in the story that you're having that day. And I think it is just brilliant the way it's done. And how it's... obviously, there have been some technical situations that go on with it, but it is a very complicated ride, because I think what they've done is they've taken the best of a dark ride and the best of a simulator and the best of a walkthrough and mashed them all together. And obviously there's going to be a lot of technology that they have to test and adjust to get it just right, but once you go through it, you can appreciate why they may be having some First Order difficulties.
That's a great way to describe it, the combination of those three things. And it's kind of crazy, because when I'm going through, I'm looking, because the scope and the scale really is hard to describe. You really do have to see it for yourself, because it's so monstrous, and there's different transitional pieces that happen. And it's hard to really talk about this, but there are a number of times where you think you're on the ride, you're not even on the ride.
Right.
And I was, for one, thought, this is really bold and exciting. I mean, Star Wars is really benefiting from this, and I say that as a lifelong Star Wars fan. You get to live this like you never thought possible. Without giving any spoilers, is there like a certain moment in the story that you're blown away?
Oh, without giving away a spoiler, that's the hard part. All right, the first thing that blew me away was once it was over with, realizing just how big that show building must be. Because the way it's hidden behind the elements here in Batu, you would never know that there was any type of structure that was that large that could handle what you're going to experience. Internally, which kind of cuts to it, well, I mean, there's enough pictures of can I mention that? There's enough pictures of the AT-ATs or the AT-ATs, whichever way you want to go.
AT-ATs.
Thank you. When you go into that room, there's people who would argue with you, so I just have to set that out. When you go into that room, yeah, that's the first time your breath is taken away. And that's why I think I'm so excited about this attraction, is because most of them, when they come online, you've got one really good reveal moment. This one has about 4 for me.
It does.
And the moment you think it must be over because that was the amazing reveal they just did, there's another one behind it. So that's the masterful piece. And in that same line, the other thing I think was amazing, which is not a spoiler, but still to that level, is that it's trackless. So when you're looking down on the ground, you don't know where you're going next. So in a regular attraction, you can kind of tell, all right, yeah, we're going to go off to the right here in a moment. You have no idea where this vehicle is going to take you when you're in that piece of the attraction, which I love.
That is a really cool aspect of that as well, because, and I kept looking at trying to, I mean, you can see that where the wheels have been going because of just, wearing just the wheels marks, but it is true that it does that. And, like, there's certain things you can't see unless you go through the queue, like Poe Dameron's X-Wing, the black and orange X-Wing. I thought this took place after The Last Jedi, but maybe it didn't because Poe's X-Wing gets blown up in that movie. So maybe it's right before. So I need to find out about that.
You'll be the expert in that arena.
Yeah, so that was interesting, but just being able to see the scope of that was cool. And it's just like when you ride Smuggler's Run, there are moments where you're going to want to stop and take pictures, and you get a little bit of time. Not a lot of time, but if you're expeditious with your phone and you're ready, you can get some great pictures. I posted some on Instagram and Twitter, which definitely check out if you haven't already. But the Bridge of the Star Destroyer, that nothing can prepare you for that. And all those stormtroopers looking at you, and it's so great.
What I loved about that is that they're not just stormtroopers standing there. There's subtle motion, as you would expect in a military line of people, that they're supposed to be at attention, but you're still going to have a shoulder move or a head move or a finger move. And there's enough of that to make you wonder, is there a real person there that's going to reach out and talk to me or tell me to get back in line or tell me to go somewhere else or yell at me if it's at some juncture? What I do like about that room, too, is you're not rushed. You can stay in that room for kind of as long as you want if you want to take pictures or to just marvel at what's in front of you.
You can, and even the First Order, I lingered behind to take a couple of video things, and they just looked at me with their arms folded behind their backs, but they didn't say anything to me. I will say, people talk a lot about the line cues and how that helps distract you. That doesn't work with little kids. I think it will here. In fact, the thing that got me the most choked up was when I was walking through the queue. Just like the stonework and having read Black Spire and doing all the things that you do, all the different cross promotionals that Lucasfilm does with the story group. Like, I know kind of the history about some of this park, the fictional history of the park, and then you walk through it, and then I could almost picture Leia Organa in that holding area before you go in and you get to kind of start things rolling, and it just feels like you're in the movie living this experience. And Avatar, Pirates of the Caribbean, I mean, the list goes on and on. You're in these worlds and it's fun, but this really is the immersion thing. I saw someone say, "Boy, it's the most immersive ride," and I thought, you kind of roll your eyes because you hear, like you said, you hear that word all the time. But it doesn't even do justice to the fact that you're living in that moment. And I'm not even saying that as a Star Wars fan or because I just got off the attraction or just because I got out of Oga's. It really is true.
Yeah, the Oga thing may have helped you lose your dictionary at one point, but I agree with you. I think that what they've done here is masterful. And again, not just the moment that you get on a vehicle starts the ride. The ride starts the moment that you walk into the queue. It actually starts the moment you walk into the land. But for this attraction in specific, you walk in, and I would highly recommend, if if you have the opportunity someday, it's going to be a long time from now. If you don't have a fast pass, or when they do open that up and you go through the regular queue, you do get to see those little details and the things happening. Later on, when fast pass opens up, make sure that you do go through the standby queue, because there is some really cool detail in there. I think that they have done they've blown it out of the water in terms of putting you in the story.
Yes. Yeah, it's a walkthrough. It's a dark ride. It's a thrill ride. It's a moment. It reminds me of before I saw Hamilton. Everyone raved about Hamilton. I thought, well, there's no way it can live up to my expectations, but it did. I'm so happy to say that it actually did. And you had some great advice when we first started chatting, and now that I've done it too. Please don't watch any videos or ride through it. Look at pictures, that's fine, because you don't know the context of what's happening. But the context is huge. The order of when things happen, it tells an incredible, fulfilling Star Wars story. And I'm telling you, you will like it so much more if you wait. Yeah. So much more.
Yeah, because if you don't know what's coming, and it just, to me it was almost like, somebody asked me about it, and I said, you know what? It would almost be like going to a murder mystery movie where you already know the ending, if you've seen it. I want to go through those ups and downs and those oh my goshes and those gasps and not know what's around every corner when I watch a movie. I would do the same thing for this attraction. If you're going to be here or plan to be here or in Disneyland once that opens, do your best to avoid it and then let the magic happen.
It's very, very true. Speaking of letting the magic happen, obviously that's where you come into play because of MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, which, I'm not here without you, without MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. You set up so many things for people. And I can tell you, even last night, my flight here, my transportation, everything was so much smoother. Because I was worried about the content. I was worried about experiencing this attraction. I was worried about getting on this attraction. But because of you, I didn't have to worry about that. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. Of course, we're going to support you in all of your efforts. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so proud to partner with you, because you have a love and a passion for everything that is surrounding us. And I know that if you can bring that to other people by way of your podcast and your social media, I want to do everything I can to support that effort. Obviously, we can do anything that you need. And some people don't understand the MEI part is MEI Travel, and we do everything. So if you want to do a Royal Caribbean cruise, or if you want to do Virgin Voyages, if you want to go to London, or if you want to go, anywhere around the globe, we can do that. But our Mouse Fan Travel is the Disney specialty division, and we are working through bringing as many families here that we can. And of course, our services are free. We have no fees associated, and we can do as much or as little as you want, because there are people out there that I know are Disney fans and Star Wars fans, and you're going to go, no, I have my Excel spreadsheet, and every 2 minutes I know where I'm going to be. We don't have to take that away from you. We can just be there to make sure you have the best rate, because if an offer comes out, we apply it. You don't have to wait on the phone. And for those who are Star Wars fans that may have never been to Disney before, and you're being attracted because of Batuu, we can help you with the planning. So it can be very confusing if you're not used to magic bands and fast passes and dining times and what you have to reserve or not. Even the virtual queue system that is here for Rise of the Resistance. I watched a family this morning on the boat coming over going, well, we might have to wait in line a few hours, not realizing, because no one has told them, that the virtual queue was filled up 10 minutes before the park even opened.
Right.
So we do our best to prepare people for the appropriate level of expectation. So when you get here, it's as magical as it can be.
Well, you hit upon some really important things. There's a lot to keep. I mean, I'm pretty well in the know, and there's things I didn't know, but you helped me out. Actually, your social media helps out quite a bit too.
Thank you.
And then when you're walking around experiencing things, you learn that as well. But Disney World, I mean, it's a wonderful vacation, but sometimes you need a vacation from your vacation because there's so much to keep track of, so many things to juggle, so many things to remember, dining plans, transportation, even navigating the app, which is really, really great. But there's still keys to it, and that's why I love working with you guys, because you already know the ins and outs. You've already gone through the pratfalls and, run into the corners and realize, oh, that's not the right way to go. So you help reroute everything and make it a smooth vacation. And that's why people need to use MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. I mean, it's no secret that I do for everything.
How we look at it is we're advocates for you. So while most of your vacations go smooth, sometimes things have a hitch, and it's nice to have somebody that you can text or email or call to help you out of the situation. Or you get here and you find out that Disney's put you in a room that you didn't book, and instead of you having to bang your fist on the front desk, call us. You go have fun. We'll figure it out.
Yes. You can be the headbanger. The headbanger, that's right.
We are your advocate. We care about your vacation. We plan it like it's our own because we want you to come back, we want you to love the service, and we want you to use us again.
Well, hey, I'm living proof there's no one better than MEI Mouse Fan Travel. Seriously, so people are listening to this and they're like, I'm hearing Dan's excitement. I saw Cory's awesome stuff on the media preview. How can people get in touch with you and MEI and Mouse Fan Travel to book their magical vacation? Come to Batu, ride Smuggler's Run, and check out Rise of the Resistance.
There's several ways. Just go to mousefantravel.com or MEI-travel.com. We'll get you to our website. And then if you want to follow, we have just use my social media, which is Beci Mahnken, spelled weird, BECIMAHNKEN. That's on all the socials, and that will also link out to the company pages as well.
Very good. And, of course, you'll see our links to our affiliate link are on social media on the top of our webpage and all of our show notes.
Yeah. And please let us know that you found us through Coffee with Kenobi, because we track that and we want to make sure that we know that you're a Star Wars person, so we can help plan those little details as well.
That's right. The Star Wars treatment. This is what Coffee with Kenobi listeners deserve. And you guys do the best. Beci, thanks so much. So cool to meet you again on Batu. And bright suns to you.
Bright suns. Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to share the next adventure.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Rise of the Resistance is now open at Walt Disney World and will be open very, very soon at Disneyland. So you need to be sure and book some experiences to the East and West Coast so you can experience Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge, and Rise of the Resistance. And I can think of no better way to do that than through MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Their signature service and expert advice will help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. Their no-cost, no-obligation quote when you use the service is really wonderful, and they also proactively adjust the booking if the rate goes down. They will help your family enjoy everything Galaxy's Edge and the Disney theme parks and the cruise lines have to offer, help plan every detail, and will share invaluable tips. Be sure to go to our affiliate link, which can be found in the show notes on the front of our webpage or on our social media, and sign up for a free, no-obligation quote. You'll have the best vacation possible and help out Coffee with Kenobi in the process. So be sure to tell them that Dan Z and Coffee with Kenobi sent you. So much of what happens at Coffee with Kenobi is possible because of our wonderful Coffee with Kenobi Patreon contributors. I'd like to thank Jason Hall, Dennis Keithley, Lane Hickerson, Adam Bankhurst, David Nicely, Jeff Ellis, Colby Mead, Ross Halliban, Frank Mulder, Alexander Moylan, Aaron Harris, Chris Kavarka, Angela Sauce, Tyler Pompa, Hannah, Yancey Evans, Alex Procasio, Tim Van Swall, Ian Thompson, Simbot Defterdarian, Christine Turk, Sean Reed, Kurt McKellen, Dan Ream, Brian Harding, Blake Weaver, Jim Capron, Caroline Maselli, Chris Metz, LJ Souter, Thea Selby, Daz Davies, Christian Dale, Brian McKinney, Jared Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Struthers, Nick Deco, and Mark Suter. Thanks to all of you, Coffee with Kenobi is able to grow and flourish in ways we never would have thought possible, and you get something out of it as well. For $5 or more a month, you get access to CWK Pour-Over, which is our exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else, hosted by myself, Tom Gross, and Cory Clubb, where we talk about Star Wars. We go behind the scenes of what goes on into covering events and producing Coffee with Kenobi and popular culture. We review movies, all kinds of fun stuff, and we have a great time bringing it to you. And for $10 or more a month, you get access to CWK Lens, which gives you a ton of video and photos behind the scenes of what's going on. When I was on Rise of the Resistance, I posted a lot of pictures and images that only you got to see. I didn't put on Instagram or Twitter or anywhere else, only for CWK Patreon contributors. If you have any questions or want to find out more about how to support Coffee with Kenobi, be sure to go to www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi and sign up today. Thank you so much. We are back, and ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment that we have all been waiting for. I know I've been waiting for this. Joining us on this very, very special episode where we talk about, I can't even talk. I'm so excited that I'm starstruck. Cory Clubb is back on the show. Hey, Cory.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. As everyone knows, Cory took the keys to the Coffee with Kenobi Kingdom all the way to Orlando, Florida to experience Rise of the Resistance. Cory Clubb was one of the first people on the planet to go on this attraction. He covered it for Coffee with Kenobi. Dude, first off, thank you for that and for representing us so beautifully. Man, it was so cool to live vicariously through you.
Well, I mean, the whole story in itself is pretty amazing. And right off the bat, I mean, thanks to you and thanks to Coffee with Kenobi and all the stuff you've had, I've met new people, I've had new experiences, and have some great memories to share with everybody. So this has been a long time coming for us talking. This is crazy. We haven't even talked about this in person or we've kept kind of tight on some of this stuff, but you obviously had your trip and had a good time there, and we'd texting back and forth, and obviously not trying to give away too much, but let's let our hair down and let's talk about it.
Let's do it. So you, I called you, I don't know, maybe a month before you left. I said, what did I say? I said, hey, can you talk for a second? I got to ask you something. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I was at work. And you had mentioned, like, usually when I get a text from Dan that says, hey, can you talk? I'm like, ooh, he's got something cooking. Something's going on. So it's cool because I stepped away from my desk and gave you a call back. And you had mentioned this. I think maybe you had mentioned this was coming up. We maybe talked about it. And you broke the news that you just weren't able to go.
I said, I can't go. My day job is obviously takes precedence over everything.
Oh, absolutely.
But I knew, of course, being as good friends and as often as we talk, that Rise of the Resistance in Galaxy's Edge has been important to you for as long as it's been important to me. All of our wonderful Star Wars fan members in our community. And I thought, okay, I can't go, but man, Cory would be awesome and he would have so much fun. And so hopefully he can make it. And lo and behold, the Force was with us and you did.
Yeah, it was great. It's a funny thing because, obviously we all have day jobs and stuff. So it's more of a balance of, hey, can you go? First of all, do you want to go? And the fact, can you make it work? Can you make it happen? And so for me to balance that was obviously coming back to my work and coming back to my family and saying, hey, here's what's on the table. Here's what's happening. What can we do? What do we want to do? And I remember having a conversation with my wife, Holly, and she says, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I'd love to go. It'd be great. I think a fun experience. And maybe this is something you kind of know, Dan. I mean, but something that folks don't know. My wife and I, that same week, we're going to celebrate our 15th wedding anniversary. So it was weighing heavy on me to be to say, do I take this trip? What's that going to look like? Obviously she understands fandom is a big deal. And I think a lot of people or partners will talk about their fandom within a relationship context and say, hey, is this cool? Is this, can I, get away with this type of thing and still have a fruitful marriage and make sure that everything's good. And as we talked about that, she said, well, what if I just went with you? And I kind of hadn't thought about it. I said, well, that'd be awesome. Can we make this work? And we made some phone calls and kind of, put our heads together. And it did. We made it work. She was able to get the same time off as me. And we were online booking our flights. So it was kind of crazy how that worked out.
So which is super, super cool. I was so happy. And you and I talked about this before we got online to chat tonight. But people kept saying to me, gosh, aren't you so jealous that Cory's gone? Aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm not, because I knew how much it meant to you. And, you're my friend and I wanted you to experience it. And boy, did you ever. Tell me what it was like to be there, to wake up and to kind of walk us through the schedule, because we want to know what happened, where'd you have to be the first day, who did you chat with? Walk us through the world of Cory Clubb.
Yeah, so we typically drive down to Florida for Disney, and this time we got to fly. And then, my goodness, that just alone was a dream come true. Getting down there, we had always seen the magical Disney bus from the airport and thought, oh, where does that go? You always see those kind of things at Disney. Like, what does that do? I've never been there. And we got to ride the magical Disney bus from the airport, Orlando, straight to the doorstep of the Coronado Springs Resort Hotel. And a little tidbit here, Holly and I, we took our honeymoon in Disney and stayed at the old Coronado Springs portion of that resort back in, it's 2004. So it was cool to see. We're trying to relive the memories, but we got to stay in the newer portion of the resort itself, and it was like walking through a 5-star hotel. I mean, there were chandeliers, there was Christmas trees. I mean,
isn't that thing beautiful?
Incredible. Oh, it was incredible.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
And I didn't know, we heard about it had been renovated and updated. Like, okay, well, maybe they slap some new paint on it. No, Disney goes all the way out and they make it awesome. So it was so cool to do that. And you get there, and we checked into our room, and they said, okay, you need to go down to the event check-in spot. Okay, cool. And there's these giant, big, glossy signs saying, event check-in. So this was for the event itself. We walked down to that. I checked myself in. He said, oh, you have some things. And I tell you what, I got 2 giant binders full of media material, research stuff about all that's happening in Disney, so you can kind of bone up on things or kind of understand what was actually happening for the event. And that's the thing too. We saw a lot of folks walking around with they give you a lanyard with your name on it and Rise of the Resistance on the lanyard. Super big and super cool. You could kind of point people out. A lot of little other folks, were a lot from different outlets, different media groups. So there was a couple events going on.
Here's the question that everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
Are you officially the talent now?
No one said that, but they all kind of gave the shifty eyes like
They knew.
No, that was fun because I was telling Holly that too. I said, you may refer to me as the talent this weekend because no, it was a good time. I did.
I was talking with LJ Souter and he asked me about that actually.
Well, I'm handing the title back, my friend. You may have the talent title back till the next to go around the next adventure for us. But it was cool. You got in, check in, and we got into our room, and I said, okay, I got to pour over some of the stuff and get in the goodie bags and get and see what's going on, and you get some cool swag. I think what's fun, Disney does such a good job of taking care of folks too. I think just having a fun experience. Even the towels were like wrapped in like a Mickey face. Just that kind of goofy stuff that I like. I like it's fun. And obviously for Holly to come alongside me and ride shotgun for this trip was a lot of fun too for her to experience that. So we kind of like sat down and put our heads together for what we were going to do, because she was allowed to go into the parks, but she couldn't go to the actual events. And then we had to sync up with my Disney rep as well.
Right.
So that was the next day. We had said, "We'll meet you at the front doors of the resort, and we'll kind of go on from there." So that was the plan. Holly and I actually ended up going to Animal Kingdom that night and riding some rides and just kind of scoping things out and having some time together. That's the thing. The downtime was me hanging out with her, which is super, super awesome. We've got 5 kids, so getting us a chance to get away was can be difficult once in a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, it's crazy because it's a very, very hectic pace. What people don't understand, yes, it's super fun, but it's a very, very hectic place, and there's a very tight schedule. And then when you do have a little bit of free time, and it's usually very little bit, you want to make sure that you maximize it, and that leads to sore feet and tired legs. But it's all worth it. So the next day was the day where you were to spend at Epcot, mm-hmm. Correct?
That's right. So it was the Epcot event that was going on. There was opportunities for interviews. They had all their. So Epcot has their. It's like a Christmas festival or something that you can walk around to each of the different countries and get like food items, and it's all decorated in their style of celebrating Christmas. So it's really unique. Or do that. I met up with my Disney rep Brad, so he took this assignment because he's also a Star Wars fan.
Oh, cool.
And so for he and I had to talk Star Wars almost the entire time. And, we talked about Mandalorian and some of his favorite films, and just a good time. I think he was excited, and something he'd never done like this before. So we're kind of both experiencing it for the first time, and kind of like giddy, we're, this is going to be fun. And we, have an itinerary schedule that you're kind of very, very strict to. And like you said, Dan, it's you're working. You're not. This isn't playtime. This is okay. You're on the go. We had my CWK polo shirt on, had my dress shoes on. I was, had my sunglasses on, and
you look sharp too.
Looking sharp. And just another little side note to folks who've seen some of the photos or seen the interviews we posted. I don't have my glasses on because I really
threw me for a long time.
Well, it's interesting because I will sometimes wear contacts, not very often, but I can't put them on my eyes myself. So that was something Holly had to do for me, put my contacts in my eye because I'm a big fat baby. Did that because I wanted to wear sunglasses. Obviously, I looked at some of your photos, Dan, and your interviews, and I was like, he's wearing sunglasses. I gotta do the same thing. I look cool. So that was a fun thing to do for that. So we get into Epcot, and we get directed to there's a building closed off for interviews for Epcot.
Did they do that over in the Odyssey restaurant? Is that where that was? Or Horizons is?
I think it's where Horizons is. I can't remember the name of the building. It's kind of it's a smaller building that has like a kind of an open room.
Over on the side where the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster is going to be. That side of the
it's
park?
similar to that. It's that side just before you get into the main or the main World Showcase area.
That's the Odyssey restaurant over there. Yep.
So that's what it was, and you walk in, and it's like they unshook a chain for you to go in because this is just a closed event. And so, like I said, we talked about Holly, like, hey, what do you want to do? And she's like, is it okay if I go with you? We asked the rep. She's like, yeah. He's like, no problem. You can come with me. I'll just hang out with you if you can't go into something, and you can kind of experience along the way. And we talked to everybody as we got to like these stopping points along the way. For one, when we first arrived to the Epcot itself, we got taken on the back lot, which I have never done before. Yeah. That was a fun experience because I was like, this is it. This is like behind the curtain, like a movie set almost. Mm-hmm. People coming and going, a lot of traffic. Obviously, this is a unique way to get in. That to me was really cool. I love seeing behind the scenes of Disney and all the hard work put in there. But then Holly got to go with us on that too and see that. So she was like glad to come along and hang out. So we got into the little event there. Holly kind of hung out on the side while I interviewed an executive from Epcot. I think his name was Michael. I can't think of his last name, but he was a super great guy. And as you're waiting there in the wings for the person previous to you to do an interview or talk to them, you're just kind of waiting and talking. I talked to a guy from Canada. He was with a French press outlet, and it was cool to see, hey, what are you here for? What are you? And I said, I'm kind of more of a Star Wars thing, but we're covering all the event, and he was more of the Epcot thing and covering some of the Star Wars thing. And it was cool because he since he was an international correspondent, he was able to go to Rise of the Resistance that day. So they were doing kind of a joint thing, trying to get traffic control taken care of. And so it was cool to talk to him and get his perspective because he said he had tried to ride the ride, but it was currently like queued up for the time being. He had to come back and get another time, but it was cool to see his, initial experiences and what was going on with him. And then it was my turn to go up, and we had the interview. They asked if you want me to do your makeup. I wasn't wearing makeup.
You weren't? Yeah.
No, I wasn't. They asked if they want to touch up or I said I declined because I just no thanks. But she was using a spoon. Do you know what the spoon was for?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
Applesauce? Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird. She would cover a spoon over Michael's nose and like dust on some makeup. I don't know.
It's for the lighting for the camera.
Oh, perfect.
All that video work. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And so I get up there and I have to flip a switch. My anxiety was a little high. You know this. But I had to flip the Dan's There charm on. I had to do something. And I took all a cue from you and said, have fun with it. Go with the flow. Let them talk. It's their event. They want to talk about it. So just basically have fun and enjoy yourself. And that's what I did. I had fun with it. I enjoyed myself. I put myself in your shoes, Dan, took you out of your page, and lo and behold, off to the side, Holly was watching the entire time. I completed the...
Was she really?
The interview. Well, she was sitting off, just watching. I completed the interview, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, that was incredible." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, you're like a totally different person." I was like, "What do you?" I mean, I don't know. Just interviewed the guy. It wasn't like as a big deal. She's like, "No, you're like, I don't." She was kind of like making the starry eyes. Yeah, I mean, it was.
I get to go home
like,
with this guy.
Yeah. It was cool. So she got out of that was a really unique view into what we do, what our podcast does, on the road, obviously with other people. And she knows that we do a podcast. She hears me talking like we do now. And she's kind of, it's just kind of a fun hobby. But she's like, no, this was something different. This was really showed me a side of you that was really cool. And she was super proud. So I think that was a really unique memory that I'm going to keep
forever.
And it was just so cool. Forever. And it's so cool to do that. And I'm sure Deanna obviously has the same inclination of seeing you, I mean, we're working, right? We're doing our thing. It's what we enjoy to do. So
it's great.
That right
fun.
there is one of the first memories that was for us.
So being like kind of a student of body language anyway, and a public speaker and all that good stuff, and knowing you as well as I do, like I was very excited to see these videos. And you did beautifully. I mean, you came across, you were such a natural, and I liked the charm that you evoked, that you bring out. Could you interview people? Sometimes you're sort of at the mercy of what they're going to do or how they're going to be. And everybody was great and charming, and it's fun. One of the things I got to do is I got to edit and put some of these videos together so we could put it on our YouTube page. And it was cool to see like the banter with you and the people you're interviewing when they can't, before like the clap board would come on or after the fact, and the laughter and handshaking and stuff. And I was super proud of you, man. You really shined. It was cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I had to go back and watch your videos. You'd done it at Galaxy's Edge, and thought, okay, what's he's going for excitement. He's going for some humor, but also like relaxed and having a good time. But it's weird when you're in that moment because there's cameras, there's lights on you. And a couple of times, there were so many lights on me, and the sun was out. I couldn't see. It was so bright. If there's a quick intro I done, just killing some time in front of the Falcon, and it was just like these lights are blaring down. And you're like, oh man, some people do this all the time. Like this is their livelihood, and it can get intense. And then by the time you're done, you're worn out, and think, oh, well, you got to, do Galaxy's Edge. Well, this is it, man. This is working. It was difficult to keep that in perspective, but also have fun. So, yeah, it was a blast.
It was a blast to watch and be along for the ride. And speaking of the ride, we haven't even gotten to the Rise of Resistance yet. So let's take a quick break. And when we come back, Cory's going to tell us about his first time experiencing Rise of the Resistance and giving us some tips and pointers so that we can experience the attraction as well. This is Coffee with Kenobi. We are back, and now is the moment. There's been like 10 moments we've been waiting for. This really is the one. I want to hear about. You're on your way to the Rise of the Resistance attraction. You're there for the media event, and you're about to ride this thing. What was that process like? Because we know that there have been some challenges, because this is an absolute engineering marvel. It's an imagineering feat that is unprecedented, in my opinion, in the history of theme parks. There's a lot of parts that go to it. What did they kind of prep you with, that, or what were your expectations about it consistently running and that you getting to experience it?
Yeah. So I mean, I work in software. I know when we release software, it's going to be not 100%, I think, all the time. And it's with almost any project people are working on, they're going to have their kinks getting worked out. So the entire time was kind of mixture of excitement, but kind of like some anticipation as far as, the day of. I know we had to get up super early because we had an hour and a half all to ourselves for media outlets to do interviews and ride the ride in the morning before the park actually opened. So, and I had a couple of interviews. I actually had 4 interviews that day, I think, that were all scheduled. So it was busy. And so we get there super early, still dark outside, and we're getting there, getting into Galaxy's Edge right away because we got in the back lot again and met up with my representative in Galaxy's Edge. And he's like, okay, we got some time to kill. What do you want to do? We'll walk around. So we kind of milled around a little bit, and there's people setting up interview sections and gathering kind of around. And we walk up to the Rise of Resistance ride, and it was just kind of like there's not much activity. And I was like, well, can we ride it now? I don't even know. And some of the cast members were kind of standing there, and they said, "Do you guys want to ride it?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I assumed like, oh, we'll go on probably with the group. We ended up going through the queue line by ourselves, just the representative and I, walking through the queue line and getting into the first queue area. Now, before I begin too much, I don't want to spoil it for folks who haven't ridden the ride yet. And so is it okay to say like, hey, we're talking spoilers now, right? I mean,
that's totally up to you. At the top of the show, Becky and I talked about the ride itself, and we didn't talk specifics about when things happen. I mean, people have seen pictures, so they know there's we know there's an ad. We know Kylo Ren's in this thing, but you don't necessarily know when or what the context is of how that evolves. But whatever you think would be the best for Coffee with Kenobi listeners.
Yeah. So we queued up, and I'll talk about my expectations were I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the ride was going to be like. I knew we had sat in the car, the vehicle at Celebration, so I knew that much. We're going to be riding a car at some point and doing that. But this experience, just queuing up the line, was to me part of the ride. Yeah. Walking through the first interactions we have, and I can say this, I guess, the whole portion of it that you start with is like a underground resistance area, and we see that obviously with the merchandising and stuff around it. But it's very much kind of tunneling underground, and you're walking through it, and everything's Star Wars. I mean, you basically have stepped into a movie scene. And you're playing it out, and you get into the adventure, and they're moving you from place to place. And what's cool about this is it's all interactive. I feel like there's constantly something going on, but lo and behold, if you pull reveal a little bit of what you're actually doing, you're actually really still queuing up for the ride itself. But it doesn't feel that way to me. And I don't, maybe for you, what were your first experiences, kind of in that first transition, getting onto the ride?
So I went a couple of days after you over the weekend, and to me the original queue itself, and we won't give away specifics.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away
when things happen. But it's pretty public knowledge that there's in essence 4 pre-shows, which all could be a pre-show in and of themselves, and you'd be completely satisfied and blown away in every single case. I mean, really every single case. But I can legitimately say I got choked up in the queue walking through those caverns because I felt like I was inside The Force Awakens. Like I didn't feel like I was on a set. I didn't feel like I was in a theme park attraction. I felt like I was in the movie, and that it was the most natural thing that ever was. Yeah. And I got really kind of choked up. And I didn't get choked up in the ride. I didn't really get choked up for other stuff, but just being there, I kind of felt like I was going to see Carrie Fisher sitting in front of that clear board with the, that they use at Dakar at the base, at the Resistance base. And I thought, this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. The architecture and the laser engraving through the stonework. I was just absolutely mesmerized by what I was seeing. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And it's really a spectacle because I've been on theme parks rides over the years, and Disney obviously does a wonderful job of queuing people up and walking through part of the attraction. We get that with Smuggler's Run too. You get to walk around the Falcon and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's one of the biggest things in theme parks is the wait time, and you're waiting in line. But this, to me, it doesn't. You're not waiting in line. I mean, you are in essence, but you're stepping into you said Force Awakens, and you're acting with these characters. You're part of the story now. All of a sudden it's taking off, and you're engrossed in every moment. You said there's 3 or 4 moments just to queue up for the main ride, but it is like you get goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking through like the atmosphere and walking through from place to place. And I think it's okay to say that something happens and you're taken to an area where we've seen some photos online of a giant room full of stormtroopers. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So that was quite a reveal. And to me, not knowing what's going to happen, I was totally thrown off guard. And the way that it is represented to a fan getting on the ride, to do that spectacle, to that scale, is mind-blowing. Just to be, you're literally standing right in the middle of it, right in the middle of everything that's going on.
You want to hear something crazy that I'm not sure you thought about? I didn't think about it until after I came back to Illinois.
Okay.
But the door you walk through to board it on the Resistance vessel is the same door that you exit when you're in the hangar. It's the same door.
Oh, right. It's on the opposite side. Well, right.
Doesn't that blow your mind? That's incredible.
I've been to a couple attractions where I think it's Ariel's. Ariel has like a magical experience, like where you start in the workshop. And if people haven't written that, it's not a ride, I guess it's more of an experience. But it opens up a mirror, and you enter the Beast Castle. This is kind of similar to that experience. It's you are involved in what's happening, and like you said, that transition from one thing to the next is it's incredible.
Seamless.
It's seamless. They've done a wonderful job of making that happen for the viewer and for the guest. And to walk in this giant hangar bay full of stormtroopers who are all individual, they're all literally an opposing force. I felt like I was a little like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? I have no idea what's going to happen next. And we got in that room, and it was just the 2 of us walking through that area and taking some photos, and a couple other people, milling around. But then you kind of go around to the next portion, and that's when I think, to me, the ride kind of kicked in the sense of, well, I don't know how much to say here. I call it the Hallway of Doom. I took a photo and it's at the Hallway of Doom.
You could say that like the Star Destroyer hangar. Is that, or do you mean after you're in?
Well, after that hangar experience,
the detention cell area.
Oh yes, the detention cell area, and there's these long, really grandiose hallways that you would see in any Imperial like
a Star Destroyer. Yeah.
Yes. And to me, like, those were right out of the movies. I mean, I don't know how you felt. Like, does it feel like it was?
Yes, I feel like I was in a Star Wars
this
movie.
Is it. Like, you basically entered a Star Wars movie, and every cast member we interacted with were literally in character for real. Like,
they were great.
If you interact with them, they were on point and totally in character for that experience. Did you have any of those interactions?
A ton of them. There was awesome. One of the coolest things. So one of the things you do when you're a cast member, because of course I was a cast member years ago, but you're supposed to smile. You're supposed to be friendly. You're supposed to exude Disney charm, charisma, a welcoming atmosphere, unless you work at the Haunted Mansion. Then you're very stoic, very serious. Now we have a new contestant, and that is the First Order officers in the Rise of the Resistance attraction. Mm-hmm. They put their hands behind their backs as they're pacing back and forth. They talk in chilling British accents. They're intimidating. Yep. Even though you know it's a show, it just feels very realistic, and you've got animatronic stormtroopers around.
Yep.
You feel like you got arrested by the First Order, and you feel like you're in serious trouble. There was a little girl that was in the line next to me, and she had reindeer antlers on, like a headband. And one of the First Order officers looked at her and he said, "I can see you are set up for long-range communication." And then he walked away, and he had the most serious look, no crack in the armor at all. And as soon as he was out of her line of vision, she laughed so hard, and we all did. It's almost like welcome relief. So it was super fun. Excuse me. Did you have similar cool things as well?
I did. I interacted with I basically I asked if I could take a photo of one of the cast members in the shot, and she said proceed, and I was like, cool. So I took a photo, and she was in the shot, and I said, you didn't smile, and she stayed in character, and I said, okay, I won't, I'm backing off type thing, and I got back and kind of got back on our line that we're queued up in, and I kind of glanced at the side of my eye, and I saw a slight smile on her face, but by then she, obviously had a couple groups go through, and it's hard to be in character all day long. These cast members have been trained to be very much in the character and know exactly the part they're playing for this portion of the ride.
The cast members add so much to this experience. Absolute kudos to them for making it such an incredible, enriching experience. Let's talk about the actual ride itself. Yes. I mean, obviously, we're not going to give away spoilers, but what do you think about this attraction overall? How did you feel when you were on it, and where do you rank it among your favorite Disney attractions?
Oh man, it was just talking up to this point is just fun to go through that experience, but the ride itself, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's actionless, but there's drama going on, right? Up until you get into the actual the vehicle ride portion, then it's the action takes off. It is like literally one moment from the next, there's something happening. It's all around you. It's you are part of the action of what's going on, and it's something so unique to me that I didn't know was going. I mean, I kept getting surprised by certain things that were happening as you get through portions of the ride. I was like, I didn't know what to expect. So that was really a lot of fun. The mystery about it, the excitement about it. To me, this was an experience. I hate to call it a ride because I mean that's what it is. But to me, this is an experience you go and do, and I want to ask people, go and experience this ride. That's what it needs. Don't go ride this ride. Experience it. But having ridden it a couple of times, like there's something new you see every time. I would expect to see new things every time you go, and apparently there's a couple different ways you can ride it. You can get different experiences and different perspectives. From what I was told for some of the cast members, but this to me, I'm kind of lost of words how to describe without giving too much away. But
I mean, basically the storyline, and this is public knowledge, so we're not spoiling anything because we're not saying what's going to happen. But you're supposed to, help the Resistance escape.
Escaping,
find Leia. The First Order kidnaps you and is going to arrest you, but then the Resistance helps you, and then you have to escape from the Star Destroyer. And then you got to take an escape pod. I mean, that's all public knowledge. Disney's been saying that for a really long time. The way that it happens, the way that you go through these different rooms and encounters and experiences, the music, the sound effects, when stormtroopers are blasting you, it looks like they're actually blasting at you.
Yeah.
The screens and the animatronics are seamless and incredible. Think of the best audio animatronics you've seen, like the Johnny Depp and the Pirates of the Caribbean. Or exactly. Or some of the Navi and from the World of Pandora. This takes it to a whole other level. Other level.
Hondo is another good attraction, I think, or animatronic that represents that well. But it's like, to me, it was seamless. There's a couple points where I was kind of questioning: is this a video? Is this a animatronic, or is this an actor? Because that's what you feel. There's one portion we're sitting and we were waiting at one point, and above us there's a stormtrooper, and they're moving around. I think, is that someone up there, or is that I can't tell.
You can even see their shadows when you look up too.
It's the whole thing. It's such an experience that you cannot tell fact from fiction, and I think that was exactly what they're going for. They did it a perfect. This is like the perfect theme ride. I mean, they've set the bar so high. On this, and if you've ridden some of the Harry Potter rides, you can get some of the similar animatronics and videos and stuff. And you wear 3D glasses and stuff like that, but you're on a ride. You feel like you're on a ride, and it's fun too. But this, to me, it drops you in the middle of a Star Wars movie. It's a different level completely.
So I'm going to ask you about two things.
Okay.
One, I want to ask you about, because we know that there's AT-ATs. We know there's two life-size AT-ATs.
Yes.
Tell me your reactions to being in that room, and tell me what you thought about the drop.
No,
and then I'll tell you what I tell you, and then I'll tell you what I
love this. Yeah, you enter a room. There's two giant AT-ATs we've seen from the promotion stuff, and you can see actually in my reaction video we had a cam that shows that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But those things are imposing, dude. They are terrifying, and it's one of the things I think. Oh, this will be like a 3D perspective, or kind of it's trying to show you like they're bigger than life. No, these are actual size. They feel like you're going to step on you type feeling. And then there's a couple different actions that go on, and that interaction, like you said, the blaster bolts and things flying all over the place. Something's always happening. That felt I was literally ducking down and trying to I felt like I was trying to avoid these. Like, what's going to happen next? Was it going to jump out and get me? Grab me? Kylan's going to grab my neck or something. But it was such a cool experience. I was literally like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like grabbing a hold, but also looking around. And like you said, you walk through some of the experience, and you get to a portion where, like you said, there's an escape pod, and it's it's you enter it, and there's a drop involved. I did not know this. I did not know this was going to happen. And to me, this is the most shocking thing through the entire ride. It was a free fall moment, and not it's not like if you've ridden Tower of Terror. It's not that free falling for a long time. It's enough to drop your stomach, but also give you a thrill. I mean, and this is one of your biggest concerns, Dana. And to me, first time riding it, I didn't know this was going to happen. So it was super fun.
When you go in, when you see the AT-ATs, the entire time I was on this, I rode it 3 times. And the first 2 times I rode it, the entire time, I legitimately, again, without any hyperbole, had my mouth open the whole time, just so agape, not believing the size and scope of this thing. It's a trackless ride, so you can't necessarily tell where you're going.
Right.
And then I know there's like 2 different major paths you can take. I was on the same path all 3 times, so I went on the right side, if that means anything to you.
But there's an left side.
Oh, so you've seen the other side. Apparently the side you were on was the less frequent one to be on. So good on you. That's good.
Okay.
That is important because what I saw, there's a Finn animatronic, because we know that the main characters from the sequel trilogy are in it. That is so lifelike and so realistic that I thought it was John Boyega, and I thought, wait a minute.
I thought that again. I thought it was an actor. I was like, oh wait, what? I thought someone was stepping out of the shadows to interact with us, and it's almost, if you close your eyes, you won't see it, because it's a moment like you're looking at these giant imposing AT-ATs, and you're kind of looking at the spectacle, and then boom, it happens, and then you rush off to another area, and it is seamless. I thought for a second, I was like, that can't be John Boyega, and I just thought, well, maybe it's a person. I don't know. I mean, it is so cool. It was so awesome to ride this ride and journey this, and I love the ending too. I mean, like you say, you drop out and then you're right back to where you actually kind of started, but also it feels like you have traveled, right? Did you get that same feeling? You have been through this experience, and you're now at the end, and it feels like, wow, I feel like I actually did make it through this alive type thing. It's so much fun, and I'm so glad to be able to have done it. One thing that I got through out of was I recognized the voice, and I was like, man, I can't place it, but I know who this is. I think it's James Arnold Taylor. And lo and behold, I did a little research and found out, yes, it is him. He's one of the newest characters on the ride. And I won't spoil who it is. Maybe I did, or maybe he did online. But it's cool to hear him again doing a new character.
He said it on his Twitter, so you're safe.
Oh, did he? Okay. Well, he's excited too. I'm excited for him. I think it's cool to see him in that capacity. It's brand new, I think, for him even to have something like that. And curious to see what his reaction would be. Obviously seeing the character in real life, but oh man, what an experience! And I mean, coming off that the first time around, could you just? I mean, it's almost like you're like, what just happened? To me,
like it.
There's nothing like this. Exactly. I mean, I've never read anything like this before, and I don't know how to describe it. To folks.
It's hard. I mean, there's a couple of things. I went on it. On a pour over, I'll go behind the scenes of how I got on the attraction 3 different times.
Sure. Yeah.
But suffice to say, Disney was very good to me. They took care of me, and I'm extremely grateful and appreciative and fortunate that it happened. So thank you again to them for that, and for how awesome they were having you as a part of this media event as well.
Yes.
So that's totally true. And we are very grateful and happy. If you want to get on this attraction, and it is a great, great, great attraction, here's what you need to do. You need to be sure that you have a theme park ticket, and you need to be sure that you get there very, very early. One of my students, who's an awesome, awesome young man, he said, Mr. Zare, I'm just going to wait in line for 15 hours. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to ride it. And I said, no, you're not. Because that's not how it works there. And he says, what do you mean? I said, I wish that worked that way, bud, but it doesn't work that way. Disney has set up a virtual queue system. So what you do is you have to be inside the park. You have to have a theme park ticket. And then once you do, you can get on the My Disney Experience app, and you click on right away. It says, board virtual queue. So you click that. Mm-hmm. And if they're not already gone for the day, they're going to tell you you're going to be in boarding 10 to 25 or 30 to 58 or however they decide to do it that day, or how many people are going through the attraction. But you got to get there super early. When I was there on Saturday, the park opened at 9, but Galaxy's Edge opened at 6. So people were getting there at 4 in the morning and lining up so they could get inside. I can honestly tell you that when I walked through the turnstiles at 9:01, all the virtual passes were gone. And that was 1 minute after it opened. The good news is that had I not had the good fortune that I had, I would have had to have gotten there early and just walked into Galaxy's Edge, at the 6 a.m. The way it works, by the way, if one section of the park is open and the others aren't, nothing is open. The shops, the attractions, none of it's open. You can walk wherever you want. Actually, some of it's probably barricaded, but everybody was running to Galaxy's Edge anyway. Go on Rise of Resistance. And the way they have it set up currently is that you can only go through when you walk past Muppets, when you go past Star Tours and you go past Muppets, there's no mistaking where you're going to go to Galaxy's Edge. And the only way to leave is to go through Toy Story Land. So it'll be very easy when you go through that way, since that's the only entrance that's open now. That's how you go. The first thing you're going to see is Rise of Resistance. You can't miss it. That gun turret that you talked about earlier on the show. That's where you're going through the queue and you wait in line. Yes, the ride is broken down a number of times throughout the day, but I can also happily and honestly say that they work very, very quickly, very, very efficiently. The number of working parts that go into this thing, when you see it, you'll understand why it's as complicated and complex as it is. So you have to be prudent with your expectations. I mean, it probably would make sense. I would understand if you want to wait a month or two until all the bugs and kinks were out. But this is very normal. I really want to emphasize, and I put this on our Twitter, don't believe the hype. Like, you can get on this thing, but you got to get there early. Yeah. You have to be patient. You have to be aware that it might break down. I was sat on it twice and it broke down. But they didn't make me evacuate. They had me sit in the car with other people, and the cast members entertained us for 20 minutes, asking us why we wanted to join the Resistance. Boy, that Kylo Ren. It was so fun that I didn't even realize time was going by. And then all of a sudden lights came on and they said, do we have to exit? And they said, no, you got to escape the First Order. And they opened the door and we went through the attraction. So they're working around the clock. They're doing the best they can. And if you're not able to get in, they're giving people, at least last weekend, they're giving people free 1-day park hoppers, which is an incredible deal.
Incredible, yeah.
Passes to come in the next day. So they are taking care of you. So Disney's doing it right, and they're taking care of what they need to, and it is worth every single second.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I second all that, and it's worth the experience if you are able to go there. Take all those tips into consideration. Yeah. Because it's quite the experience, and I know that everybody who has ridden it has had a good experience that I've talked to and really enjoyed it. People have labored hours and hours and hours and years to put this into production and have it be the way it is, and they've done a grand job. I think it is the best theme park ride out there. I mean, they've set the bar so high with this that I don't know what they'll do next. I don't know how they top themselves, but it'll be incredible to see everybody go through it and, like I said, experience it on their own. And boy, I can't wait for Disneyland to open up as well in January to real folks to go out there and experience it out there and see what they have to say. So, man, what a fun time. And do you want to talk about the grand opening at all, or some of those experiences?
I know our coffee's getting low. But tell me really quickly what it was like to be a member of the media and be at the grand opening, because you have this is a great way to end the show. You've got a blockbuster story.
I have a blockbuster story. So for the grand opening, they closed down the Galaxy's Edge attraction area early so they could set up tables and stuff. And by that time, it was around 4:00 in the day. I had been on my feet all day. I'd worn dress shoes because they want you to look proper and obviously represent Coffee with Kenobi well and look nice. So I had blisters on my feet for sure. So I was hurting. I was, after a while you get so involved in some of the stuff you forget to eat sometimes. And we did eat, but I mean, it was just, you get so wrapped up in the business of it. You're worn out.
Isn't it?
What's that?
Like the first celebration we went to.
Totally. And it's it's almost, you're taking all this stuff in, but I've been in Galaxy's Edge for maybe 10 hours by this time and experienced so much stuff and interviewed so many great people. I'm ready to almost call it a day. And they said, okay, well, we'll open back up in an hour and a half and we're going to have the grand opening and there'll be some things afterwards. I'm like, okay, great. I'll come back for that. I went back to our resort and relaxed, put my feet up, and then got right back on the bus again and dutifully went back to the area. We had on our badges, there was a BB-8 that had designated who you were with. I was in the orange group, so I was media. So we got basically to go all the way up towards if you know where the blue X-Wing is, that's where we are all staged up and queued up, and they had a big awning put on for cameras and stuff to capture this grand opening with some of the I don't say actors, but some of the cast members in character going through some small scenes of kind of hurrahs, and they're getting the crowd pumped up, and I'm lost his name, the main Disney. There's a Disney executive that came out and basically.
Oh, Bob Chapek.
Bob Chapek, thank you. He was there to introduce the ride, obviously, and crescent it as far as it being open to the public. And it was fireworks that went off, and where I was standing, I could see the actors up on stage, and he was doing a great speech. And all of a sudden, he said something like, "Let the resistance rise," or something like that. And everyone kind of shot their eyes up at the sky, and I was like, "What are they looking at?" I couldn't see. Apparently, there was X-wings that were flying around the park.
Yeah, I don't know if drone just for that experience.
Something drones, and I've heard that is it the NASA or Air Force? Somebody's putting together actual X-wings that will fly around the park every once in a while to that same attraction. So I didn't see that in person, but I heard about it and I was like, wow, that's pretty expected. And then there's a giant fireworks display that went off. You guys saw it on our Instagram feed. I tried to do a live feed to show some of that off. It was really exciting. I got really pumped up. And once that was over with, I was like, I guess I'll just walk around Galaxy's Edge and just, mingle and talk to people and see what's up. So what they had done, they had all the food vendors come out, and basically you were able to sample the food, and they gave you one free ticket to go into Olga's Cantina and get any drink you wanted. And I was like, wow, I'd never done that, would experience that before. So I went to Olga's Canteen and I was like, what do I get? I think I texted you, Dan. I was like, what's good here? I don't know what to get. And there were so many things. You said, I would love to try the carbonate freeze. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to get. So I got the carbonate freeze, and this drink comes cold. It's not hot, it's cold, but it's like bubbling. There's something they do to this. These like little fruit balls are in there bubbling, and it's a non-alcoholic drink, so kids are able to get it and experience it. But I was shimmied up to the bar. I felt like I was actually in a cantina sipping along with Star Wars folks and interacting with the scene and drink. It was just a fun experience to be there and do that. And I was like, this is so cool. And, again, this is Galaxy's Edge. If anybody who's been there listening to this whole area of the park is so fantastic. And I know that I brought this to your attention, Dan, that like, I wasn't sure I was going to make it there, when it opened. I was super excited this land. And we went back and forth when it originally opened. And I was like, I'm really, anticipating a lot of things. I'm not sure if I'm going to get in. You said, don't worry, man, you're going to get in eventually. And we went as a family in September and we're able to get in and have fun and do all that. So I got to experience that way. But even before that, we were in Chicago. And during Celebration in Chicago, there was a live event of a panel of folks for Galaxy's Edge, and they introduced some of the brand new music that John Williams had written and sampled that for us. Warwick Davis was on the stage, and all kinds of cool stuff. And Doug Chang came out, and he was talking about all the experiences, and he's the executive art director of Lucasfilm. And he talked about all the the vision behind it. He showed some designs they had for the park and all the details that went into it. And it's just hearing all that on that stage was like, wow, we've got to experience this. And so later on that day in Chicago during the celebration, I might have told you this story. I might have told online before, but I bumped into Doug Chang on the convention floor, and I didn't know at that point, like I knew who it was, but it didn't click with me to like say hi, or I said hello, but I didn't I wanted to, speak to him, talk to him, because as a designer myself, it was cool to see someone that aspire to work with such a great company and do such great work. But I didn't get a chance to do that. And I always kick myself. I said, man, why don't you just say something? Just get a picture, or, I don't know. I feel like I needed to do something. I never got that chance. And I always kind of kicked myself. Right. And I did that to this day. Like I thought I'll never probably encounter him again. And I was walking through the open area of the shops, the little
the marketplace.
Marketplace. Yeah. Thank you. The merchandising marketplace there. And they weren't showing any merchandise at the time, but it was open just to kind of roam. And it was this time there was not very many people there. And I get up to there's a kind of a fountain area. Not a fountain, it's like a small little statue area. I'm just looking around, just kind of taking it all in. I look ahead and I recognize Doug Chang, and I was like, that can't be him. And he was with a small group of people. And I noticed a Disney rep with him, and I kind of pulled her aside. I said, is that Doug Chang? And she says, yes. And I said, I would love to just introduce myself to him and speak to him, if that's okay. And she said, he would love to talk to you. And I just
awesome.
waited. I waited shortly for a time. We gathered some of our friends, and he came over to me, and I introduced myself. And I told him that exact story. I said, we kind of encountered each other at Chicago. I said, I wanted to speak with you. But I said, here we are. I said, we're in Galaxy's Edge. And during that, I'm getting goosebumps and shaking right now.
Oh, wow.
I said, during that panel, I was excited for Galaxy's Edge. I didn't know if it was even going to be happen for me. And literally, I'm standing here in Galaxy's Edge talking to Doug Chang. And we had a great conversation around design, just his passion for the arts, his passion for Star Wars, and just a moment was just captured right there that I'll probably never forget. And I asked him if we could get a photo. He's excellent. He'd love to do that. He'd love to catch up. Later on, if we go to Celebration, obviously next year. So, I mean, just that interaction to me was just so awesome. I think I can't imagine how that even happened. I came to be, but it was just excuse me. That interaction to me was just so awesome. I mean,
it makes me so happy. Like when I'm smiling from ear to ear, that's just so cool. Cause I know obviously you're an incredibly talented, passionate designer, and you're talking to Doug Chang, who is responsible for so much of,
much.
Doug Chang and Ralph McQuarrie. These are the guys that shape what Star Wars looks like.
Exactly.
When you talk to him in Galaxy's Edge, that's so. When you sent me that picture, I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
It's almost like a dream.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, like you've rubbed elbows with George Lucas, and that interaction to me is like you cannot put words to it to some degree. I mean, but he was so gracious and humble and took time to talk to me. And it was just so cool. And I tend to forget, like, when I meet some of these folks, that they're just regular people doing their job, and to be in that capacity and walk around literally a creation that you've helped create, the Galaxy's Edge and the ride. And I mean, I'm sure he has his hands on a lot of different things, that it's just such a satisfying feeling. And then obviously interacting with fans and hearing that, like, hey, this is one of the best things that I've ever walked through as a fan, and just it's the fact that, like, they can hear that I could see in his eyes that he was just like, this is it. This is what makes my job the best it can be. So it was such a great moment, I think, to interact with him, and obviously the whole experience itself. I mean, from our anniversary to riding the ride, Rise of Resistance for the first time, we're the one first people on there to ride it, to meeting Doug Chang and everything involved. I mean, it was just a wonderful experience and something that I'm going to literally cherish forever.
Well, man, I have cherished hearing this feedback and your conversation. It's been awesome catching up with you, and thank you again for sharing your time and talents with us, and for bringing this awesome opening to Coffee with Kenobi. Dude, where can people reach out to you if they want to ask you more about Galaxy's Edge, get you some tips on Rise of the Resistance from you, or anything?
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at Cory Clubb. I'm trying to post them more often with just interactive stuff, my Star Wars gets and all my finds and excitement about what's coming next to The Mandalorian. And feel free to reach out there, or if you want to email me, feel free to email me, CoryC at coffeewithkenobi.com.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is
As we close out the show, I want to thank our CWK sponsors, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel and One Nation Coffee. Please support them the way they support our podcast. And remember to listen to new and archive shows of Coffee with Kenobi wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, CastBox, Deezer, and our website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com, or wherever you enjoy listening to your favorite shows. And if you listen to the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. You can also find us on social media. In fact, please follow us on Twitter and Instagram, give us a like on Facebook, and check us out on Pinterest. Be sure to listen to our CWK family of shows too, including Legends Library, Resistance Reactions, Comics with Kenobi, and Lattes with Leia. Please leave a review for each of their shows as well, and be sure to subscribe to each of them individually on their own respective feeds. In addition to the places I just mentioned for Coffee with Kenobi, you can find me twice a month on the podcast Looking at Lucasfilm, part of the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, as well as on Twitter at Mr. Zer, MRZEHR, and you can find my writing on CWK's website, as well as StarWars.com and IGN. Don't forget to check out www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi to support our podcast and help us keep the lights on in the studios. Our Patreon page is where you can listen to our exclusive weekly podcast, CWK Pour Over, hosted by me, CWK newsman Tom Gross, and Coffee with Kenobi co-founder Cory Clubb for just $5 a month. There are also opportunities for behind-the-scenes videos, photos, t-shirts, and more. Plus, 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to St. Jude Children's Hospital each month. Thank you to all of you currently supporting us on Patreon, and thank you for considering becoming a member of our Coffee with Kenobi Patreon family.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one